Blessings and welcome forward to Reasonings right here at the Tree of Life. I am your host, the great owl known as Jerome Sage Butler. And in some other programs, we will tell you, or I will tell you, all about my subsequent name change. It's been in the works for a while. And when I say name change, that particular video we'll do, or I'll do, I'll explain that. So this video is not about the complication of my name, but just to introduce you from now on, it's a great owl known as Jerome Sage Butler. So blessings once again, brother Ramon Singh.
Perfect love.
Perfect love.
Yes, sir.
And brother Laurence Anderson, the Mystic Bob. Perfect love, brother Bob.
Perfect love.
So, brother Ramon,
Yes, sir.
it's a wonderful day. We've been doing a lot of work for the last day and a half, 2 days in this sequence. About a month and a half worth of work in the editing process. The documentary, by the time this video airs, would have already been up. So a lot of our work and our efforts would be crowned in that moment by the documentary. So I just want to say, give thanks for all the help, and in the post-production and in production, and to brother Baba as well, so on, for all of the people, from America, Jamaica, and surprising people we met along the way, who really have been, so kind in spirit and in heart, to share that information of their spirituality and emotional understanding of themselves or the culture. So brother Ramon, what is on your heart today? What shall we reason about and bring some light from our experiences and even the word into the experiences of others?
Yeah, man. Well, I'm aware that many people have experiences with demons. And we need to speak more on it so people can understand how they operate.
Okay.
Because obviously, them exist. Obviously. Because the Bible talk about them, you see me?
Okay.
And we see evil in the world. What the Bible talk, what the fallen ones do.
Yes.
And we see it.
Yes.
You see me? So evil in the world. A man might call it negative energy. You see me? Evil spirits. You know?
Yes.
But we are say them are demon, fallen angels. You see me? And we need to talk a little bit more upon that. You see me?
Well, to be honest, as it relates to these entities that are definitely differing from apparitions or poltergeists, which is the spirit of maybe angry, evil, dead humans, demons are not categorized as apparitions or poltergeists, right? So it's definitely a dimensional entity. And how we have come to understand even the simple biblical context is that there is heaven and then there is earth, right? It tells you in other texts about the third heaven and other dimensions when you go into the book of Enoch. But for the average Christian, we know about heaven and we know about hell. So beings, generation, eons ago, they changed their protocol from what the sovereign Lord a decree that they do wherein humankind was concerned in our fledgling years on the plane at home. And they did things. So the things that they did is in two contexts. One, what was done to us, the humans, from the DNA right to the psychology. And two, what was done to the environment. And that is the most important thing. The environment was messed around because of sin, and it allowed for these dimensional entities to, at certain points when someone beckons or the causalities are right, to appear within our environment. Hallelujah. So when the beings are enlightened in the house of Yahuwah, they're called angels. When they fall, these interdimensional beings are called demons. So demons is a religious statement in definition of this dimensional galactic entity. Can we say that's what it is? So as we do not squarely put it in the guise of your religious view, that there is these interdimensional entities. Now when they fall, the way they operate is out of the alignment. So when they're in alignment, it's concordance, right? And when they're out of alignment, it's discordant, right? So they build discordant vibrations. They cultivate, you know, they attract, they design structures to harness discordance,
Yeah, man.
negativity, a negative way of life, a negative culture, a negative civilization, a negative outlook on things, because that's the way these entities harness or harvest the energy from the living entities.
Sure.
Because they are separated from the natural source of that energy because of their rebellion and their defiance. So they harvest. Possessing is a word used that also is defined by the poltergeist as well as the evil dead. But beyond the possession of those contexts, you have the psychological possessions by these demonic entities and their manifestations in human behavior and human outlook. Your takes on these matters, Brother Bob. How do you see the demonic realms? How have you experienced it, if you have? And what are the things you see that are necessary for us to understand what's happening there?
My perspective based on my own experience come from a different realm in the outside source that is on the unseen dimension, what most people could not see. So what I realized that human is a living dead spirit that come from a long ancient time, as you said, by the fallen one. So it's a dead spirit by the giants. So it has been evolving, inhabited under the earth and under the water over the thousands of years. And it only deals with certain energy that is lower life force and lower dense energy. What I understand is also the archetype way of people using it as a phenomenon negatively. So when people are using demons, they all become the demons because the demons are inside of them and become a way of activity and thought process, you know.
Absolutely.
Right. But there's many ways that people contact with demon spirits based on how they live, what they do, and what kind of energy, what they bring to the church, in the lower world, you know. So what I realized that it comes from a realm of outside that we couldn't fathom, and it has its own energy, interfering different spirits inside of people, you know what I mean? So what I experienced is because when I go to college, I don't know how, but people in the society who work with those spirits able to attachment to other people's spirits have been processing in the material and the people around you, how you deal with things, you know. So what I was thinking, it is the outside entity. It never really, nobody ever born and have a demon soul or nothing. So I know that the fact that it comes from a spirit of death.
Yes.
So the people really born as an angel naturally, you know. But growing up, it's a part when the evil spirit come along, what you call it demon, but it's a non-physical spirit. So it's not a physical person who do something, no, it's a spirit of the person connect make you do something.
Yes, I understand. Brother Ramon, advance these measures of, you know, clarity on these demonic entities and their our experiences with them and their place in our human experience.
Yeah, brother Sage and brother Bob. Man, because I don't want to share my experience. because you know me like when we was like when we about 20. At them time them with the Kingston college years, you know.
Yes.
Every movie I'm obsessed with is a horror movie. We don't watch nothing else but horror movies. Strictly horror. Nothing else but horror.
I didn't even know that you said that yesterday.
Yeah,
Hurry,
man.
Chan.
Comedy obsessed with dark things, and you see me? Because from a younger I'm suicidal, you know. Always I think about death and the best way to kill myself, you see me?
That's when I
So-
was younger too. I can agree. I love the demonic shows
Yeah, man.
when I was younger, but when I reached about 16, blood and gore started destroying me. I started feeling so sad. I had to stop.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry, brother. Continue.
Yeah, man. So it reached to a point where it's like the house that we live in, because you have certain houses, you know, that demons occupy.
That I've heard and I can attest.
Yeah, especially empty houses.
Hallelujah upon that one.
You see
Hey,
me? You see a little house in the forest, empty.
Taru.
Most likely a demon occupy that house. You see me? But the house that we go is a renting house. Always renting, you know?
Yeah.
But when we got the house, it's empty, no furniture.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm like a empty house, you know? So I reached to that still. Yeah, so this house that we go, because of me and my brother, you know, I rent this place in Kingston. Everything seemed good at first, you know.
Yes.
You have a strange vibration, you know. You know? Like you say, something feel up, you know.
Yeah.
You know when you step in a room and say, I know you alone, you know, so.
But there's no one there in the visibility.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Free.
So, and that vibration the house have from day one, you know.
Wow.
So, me living in the house and I watch beer horror, it start open the doorway for the demon that occupy the house to start step out even more.
So you're saying that, because you know many people say, Ramon, you'd have to consciously invite them over. But in a sense, your conscious wasn't a cognitive conscious, but just that the fact that you kept an environment
Yeah,
by which
man.
they felt welcome.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Bahanu nichi,
It's
hituna,
like-
hari.
Where I used to sit in my room, it's
Hi.
like always, every night, it feel like somebody watch me from above through the window. Always, like this lurking, and I watch me. And I always just feel poor and just lock the window. I say, whoa, you know. So what that? Stop praying, you know.
Yeah.
So it reached to a point now when I'm in my room and I just hear somebody call me like a virgin, you know, Ramon, yo Ramon. I look around. I say, yeah. I answer, you know.
Yeah, because it's audible, right? And it's clear.
Yeah,
Hey,
nobody. And I say that weird, you know. Like couple nights later, I start here on my door. And me jump up, you know, up my door. Nobody.
Wow.
You know, I say, alright, this is weird, what going really and truly, you know. One night, me and my virgin there, you see me? And in the kitchen, we just hear beer shuffling, like pan a turn over and beer things, and I say, what going in the kitchen? You know, is a cat let loose or something, I run around, what going?
Wow.
And me and my virgin go for investigate. Everything in perfect order. No, nothing, I can't say nothing will move, you know?
Yeah, not one
I'm
thing
gonna
is
say,
all of place.
Yeah, one night, I'm up on my bed asleep. And something just wake me up, but I can't move. All I can do is up my eye.
Wow.
I can't open my mouth, can't move my limbs, nothing move, nothing.
Wow. That's serious, man. That's
And I say,
serious.
what going on?
Ouch.
And I just feel something crawl upon the bed. Crawl over me. Pin me down in the bed. And me can't, like me want to say help. And her mind just tell me, say, just go sleep. And I say, I'm just go sleep. Wake up the next day, everything good. You know? But after that day though, and that's how the suicidal thoughts get even more. The depression even more. The will to live
Less.
gone.
Wow.
You see me? Super depressed. Have no purpose to life. Me not have no energy for doing nothing. You see me? And I saw now I call my people, my mother and my father, and, you know. And she say, I tell her about what happened and things that happened in the kitchen and my depressed and suicidal.
Yes.
And she say, what? My son? No. You know? We're going to seek help.
Yes.
We're going to call a psychologist.
Wow. Wow.
You know? And I saw now I reach psychologist.
Wow.
And I explained to the psychologist, boy, I'm up on my bed, feel like something crawl, come right, like him a living on me. You see me?
Wow.
Something crawl, come living on me. Me hear things a bang bang and a call me. You see me? Things are turn over in the kitchen. So I say, explain this, what go on, you see me? And I say, even my brethren see say how things are go on in the kitchen. You see me? What go on?
Yes.
Psychologist say, I cannot help you, sir.
Wow.
And write me up for go to Ward 21.
So they send you to get a psychiatric evaluation.
90% of psychology have been reported. People have been.
So again, Bobby, you have to say that again?
90% of the psychology has been reported about the same situation, whereby the spirit, the demon, and they will ask you if you were burning weed and, you know, in a drug or
and that time I never burn weed.
That I'm saying, but they
you see
will
me?
think
I never
out of
drink
their
liquor.
perspective.
Yes.
You see
So
me?
you have blue psychology or religious, deal with religious,
Yes.
spiritual psychology can understand that dimension.
True.
By
But
myself,
most
yes.
of they will say to you need to stop put it in your mind. To stop all of this.
But what the psychologists tell me is that I cannot help you
They will never help.
and send me to Ward 21 to start the weekly checkups and weekly counseling.
Psychological evaluation.
You see me? And put me on pill.
Yes.
That's
I mean, I take antidepressants. You see me?
and
The psychotropic,
that
psychoactive
is-
properties.
Yeah.
that's is
And
How
on
do you
that,
feel? How
the
do you feel?
demon do to me.
Wow.
Make me start go Ward 21.
that I'm saying.
So you have to remember, most of the people in asylums and madhouse, most of them possessed
By the
are being afflicted strongly
So
by
yeah.
demons.
Right.
I have
Most of
advanced
the
that several times.
psychology didn't that the thought, didn't that the teaching, what the spiritual behind it, you know that it causes. But what happened is the system train the psychology in a way that the people all like that put them to watch when they want to destroy them people their mind.
Well, I mean, I think to put what you are saying, Brother Ramon and Brother Bob, the experience, as it is termed, is some form of, you know, psychosis, some form of neurosis turned into some form of psychosis, right? Once it begins to become physical, or the effects of that way of thinking becomes physicalized, then it's serious, right? And so first it was just a minor hallucination, but now it's moved from this neurotic state of thinking to a psychosis, a pathological, psychological state of being, that you're constantly in this. And so the trained psychologists that Brother Bob is talking about are the ones that are told that that is complete hallucination, right? And some chemical or biological imbalance, maybe improper nutrition or some form of poisoning in the biochemistry on some level of maybe there was some form of inert gases or some form of biotoxins from food or from asbestos. So there are neurological definitions under psychology for some activity, but here's my issue now. When they chock you full of psychotropics, right? These so-called antidepressants that reduce your mobility and represses your endocrine system, represses the exfoliation and the natural detoxification of your body. You retain toxins and hence you become bloated and physically unhealthy. So it deteriorates your mental health even further and gets you nowhere closer to the healing that you need. So how did you make that discovery now that it was not some drug you took, which you didn't have, or some alcohol, or some aberrated state of these things we described? How did you get the help to get beyond this demonic possession or this entity wanting to use your body as its vehicle?
Yeah, man, what really happened, the demon, he start seek for my life. Yeah, man, him get me sick. Dengue. You see me? Me and the same bridging in the house. So it's not just me, me and the bridging in the house being afflicted by the demon. You see me? Or even demons.
Yes.
You see me?
Hushing.
So me and him have dengue now. Super sick. We don't have the energy to bring ourselves to the hospital. And we are take the wrong pill. There's a pill where you're not supposed to take when you have dengue. We are take the one you're not supposed to take, and it'll make you even worse. You see me?
You're doing the wrongful medication of yourself. You're medicating yourself wrong because obviously you are bombarded on the spiritual, the psychosomatic level, and the biological level. So it's like 3 levels of negative correspondence right there. That's a cacophony of unhealthiness. Wow. Continue, brother.
Yes, sir. And at this bridging I try, we have this next bridging who used to come over and try give us food, and because we not feed ourselves, we not try help ourselves, we just take the pill and drink water or juice. But because we have no appetite. But one night me and him feel like so we got dead tonight.
Both of you felt like
and we say I eat that, you know. And we say we not even call nobody. I eat that. You see me? After that night, I wake up the next day and I say, hold on man, me alive? I don't know what happened to your mind when you accept death. It's when I accept death and say I did this, I accept death. And my time, man.
I know that power.
Something happened to your mind. It just changed. When we wake up, I'm gonna say, I want to live. Because we know what it is to die. I accept it, it's like me dead that night. You see me? So I must the most I. You see me? Put in my heart, we say, yo, live. You're not ready for dead yet. You see me? All we know is me want to live. I never find Christ or nothing at the moment. But we know more live. And that changed everything. You see me? Depression gone. You see me? Live more, live. You see me? No more suicidal thoughts because what? Me dead tonight. Me get me what me do want. Me dead. You know? After me dead now I say hold on man.
Fear, the ego, all of that. It fell away. All of that darkness, all of that you were absorbing, that entity, the energy. When I had my issue with death, when I had that dream that I was going to be murdered, and just as I was dying, I was asked, what have you done? these people. I said nothing. And the spirit said, well, if it's nothing, then why are you feeling me? And I accepted. And when I accepted, they shot me in the center of my forehead and I died in the dream. They say you don't die in your dream, right? I got to experience my death. And when I got shot, it went blank. It went blank. In the dream, I went blank. And when I and when I woke up, as you said, it was a new me. And I didn't declare I want to live, but I did declare one thing. I, the great owl, aka Jerome Butler, is not afraid of death. Death was my first spiritual teacher. I learned immensely that death said, first thing, death cannot contain life. It is life that contains life and death. So that was my first spiritual understanding after that. To know that here it is. I am in the eternal. And that's where I ought to be. So Brother Bob, you were telling us about how people sometimes get engaged, right, with these entities, right, like unknowingly. And, you know, people have been taught, especially by cultures, to have demonic heroes. Because some cultures said, because I heard you say something before, and it relates back to something. Some cultures say, you're born with a demon, you're born with an angel. And you were saying that we're born with angelic spirit and encounter the demonic entity.
Fallen angel.
Yeah, fallen angel.
But you see, when you encounter them telepathic wise, in terms of who you are, there's a lot of jealousy to the universe. You know what I mean? So it's not about human beings we're struggling for, what we're fighting for, you know. There's a spiritual entity in the war behind the human mind that they don't recognize that they're coming from a long time source. They've been ruled over death and care words that they know. So what I realized that I break out the spell of no illusion or there's no death. Because once you enter the person's mind, it becomes non-possession of understanding of life. So tree does not being possessed of no evil spirit. Tree is just life energy, choice of life, immortality. So what I realized that from your die every day in the mind, everything are real energy itself in the body. So everywhere you go, you change the environment first based on the first substance we're going through. So that is why every day you die in the mind before you go anywhere, that everything changes, you know what I mean? So that's why I realized that you just have to have no fear, you know what I mean? So in the present moment, everything went alive in a second of life. So one thing I talk about that, one thing psychology, when you go to my psychology, each part of the spiritual journey, he told me that I'm relevant, but he said all you have to do, there's no evil spirit, everything on you. You just have to channel the Christ consciousness and change the perception inside of you, what nothing think of outside, you know what I mean? So I realized that the energy, what you teach me about, is just awareness, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Because the early psychological traditions, they were shaman, and this is the part of it which most people don't understand. The psychological tradition that we inherit came from the shaman, came from the holy men, came from the high priest. So people do not recognize in this modern context, a priest is a trained psychologist. And when people recognize a priest is a trained psychologist, a pastor is a trained psychologist, some people who try to discredit religion use it against people such as ourselves, right? Because we are heavily trained in psychology. But because of the maladies of the mind, the psychosis and the neurotic behaviors that are developed because of misperceptions, right? And unquantifiable data. What is this? Experiences which are below the subtext of the human experience. When you have an entity that is interdimensional, it is not bound by the physicality of the human place and what I would say the human place within time and space. It is not bound by that. So when I was younger and growing up, in my roof, the same experiences that you were talking about, Brother Ramon, I had them. These rat-like entities running around in the roof, but sometimes running around in my clothes, and as I'm about to go to sleep, I would hear them disturbing me as I'm about to go right into that little sleep. I get up, trying to fix up everything. Nothing is out of place. Nothing is. Another time, as you say, you go there, everything is out of array, right? And I was reaching a point where it really broke me down. That's helped to push me into the darkness, because I started saying, okay, whoever was doing this evil, I said, fine, you're doing some form of magical thing that I too can learn. So that is why I decided I'm going to learn this form of metaphysics to see, okay, so you're using some kind of power on me, I'm going to use it. Because I was praying, and the entity was just on me, and all these things were happening, and I could not explain it. But then I recognized when I was at Edna, and I was trying to get into my spirituality and my poetry and everything, every time, I would try to go into it, it would get more intense. So, like Bob said about, no, you said about that letting go. For me, at that point, it wasn't about the death that was a letting go. I can tell you what that point was. I saw something was trying to break me apart, and I knew it was directly associated with what I was doing, what I was saying in reality. And I said to myself, someone, something wants me to be crazy. Someone wants me to act a lunatic. And it just so happens at that time I was doing a lot of work with the university hospital, and I showed you the thing on the other video, right? I was a psychiatric actor, right? And they always play these games about how you should dress, you understand me? And I always said to myself, wait a minute, I'm not going to dress come to work like I'm a patient, right? When I get to my job, I go into the room, then I change, and then become a patient. So I always thought these were quite ploys by the high society to try to secretly commit me, right? And the other psychologists do the secret evaluation one day on my perception and faith, and came to the conclusion that I came to my knowledge of self by grace, right? Because he couldn't break my psychological states of firm belief. So I broke that illusion of these demonic entities inhabiting me. Actually, it was inside me, it was sitting on my shoulder, on my back, by strengthening the power of my mind. I knew it was a plan to destroy me. And I said to them, oh, I'm going to go into my papa now. They said, oh, you want to see me turn mad? The madman you want to see walk out the road. So I said, I'll show you a madman. So the more I go to chant my poetry, the demon would have increased in power. I said, rah, and I let go, I said, fire. I said, ooh, yeah. And I just chant. I said, no, you're not going to conquer me. And I said, yes, yeah. And I chant out. Yeah. Now I say, Yehovah, Yeshua, Mashiach, Holy Elohim. And move it vibrationally. I will not be subdued. That game will not work with me. You have to command it, because the word says they are not given power over us. We are given power over these demonic entities. Command them with burning fire of the Holy Spirit and smite at them with fire and brimstone. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it make a real excitement vibe, because that vibration you put out, a commandment, that vibe, give you an example how you make an energy, a vibration like music. You know, if you see a that vibration coming out for you, and you like music, use the music in a higher frequency way and dance to it. You can see a different internal energy right within you, and you can see something. I want to go try and eat some food. that's when the demon don't want to focus on you no more. You eat some fruit and enjoy the view of nature, you know.
Because you're being yourself, you're being alive and present, you're
life
using
and-
your life
and-
force,
and,
you're living your life.
And that is in the beginning of the video, you're talking about the environment, how you deal with the environment and change your mind. From your mind to the environment, you change your mind, your thinking, so that there's no entity coming out to the outside to try to change your thought towards the environment. So you just have to then change your mind towards the environment to conquer yourself within your own space, you know what I mean? So that's how you become a full angel itself, alone, you know what I mean?
Because they feed on your fears.
Yeah.
They feed on your fears, Brother Ramon.
Yes, man. I guess we just want to say, like, how we start find out about them now, because I say, alright, them things exist on earth and them are affect me. If them they exist, you know, and not bother me, more the business about them, you know.
Yes. It would have been of no consequence, relatively, right?
Yeah.
No,
Them
that's right.
exist and them disturb my energy. So I say, let me read up and research. What is this demon entity? You know? I'm going to go through and find enough video of people catching them on camera.
Ori.
You know?
Wow.
Them catch them on camera.
Yes, because they carry some amount of frequency, and the optical nerves of the human being does see them in these altered states, right? So obviously if you have the right lens trained to the right frequency, you can catch these entities. They are not solid beings, but we can pick up wave particles
And light.
and light waves too.
Because even animals pick it up. When you think animals bark after you, if they're not barking after you, they bark after the spirit.
Yes.
And enough of the being them fly away. So enough of the being them who in the space to vehicle, they control the earth. You know what I mean? So them astral travel and when you're psyche and put in thought and psychological movement, so they study the psychological, because remember falling into the knowledge of mind, you know, of psychological
Of
power.
the logos, yeah?
Yeah, so that's why psychology is under, above psychology with the fallen angel thinking. But the fallen angel wants to make psychology think that if you think that it's spirit, the fallen angel tell psychology in their mind that you're mad. Because it's another way of war against not seeing or unseen enemies. You
Yes.
know that you are aware.
Yes.
So psychology didn't know that there are the fallen angels institution of information what they taught in school.
And you know, the Lord wants to say that, remember, he said, the gift of the Lord does include, as it is written, a sound mind
Yes, sir.
for a reason.
True.
Continue, Brother Ramon.
Yeah, man.
You research them upon.
Yeah. And me I find out, same thing what Brother Bob and what you were say, is that fallen angels, the angels that disobeyed the Most High, was on earth and see the females that God made, you know? And say, hold on man, I like this female, you know?
Yes, them attracted by their long flowing hair.
Yeah.
And,
So
you
them
know,
them take a female one side, bring them into the bush, into the deep forest, thick forest, appear to them
yes,
as God
yes.
or a higher being over them.
The most desirable form of the woman.
Yeah,
Whatever
man.
she desires the most, they appear.
Yeah, man.
Remember, these the shape-shifting traditions.
Yeah.
It's all psychological appearance. One thing about demons, they always project an image that is very pleasing. That's where we get the word enticement from.
Yes,
They
I-
entice you.
Yeah, man.
Distraction. Yes, continue.
So that fallen angel teach the woman sorcery, you know, teach her about herbs, teach her about the minerals and the crystals,
Yes.
teach her heavenly things that earthly people should not know.
Because it's not within your domain.
Yeah.
Right? Not within your domain.
So that's
it's not
why,
your home business.
yeah.
Mind your business at your yard, you know what I mean?
So the female get the first knowledge of sorcery. And what? The angel have sex with the female and make a Nephilim, which is a giant. Them come out as giants. You know? Bigger than normal human beings.
Yeah, yes. I believe they were called a form of abomination. Don't mind
Yeah,
us,
the most I see it as an
mosquitoes.
abomination in his sight.
Yes, yes.
Because he never create that.
Yes, it wasn't his design or his
So,
intent.
yeah. And when these Nephilim, these children of the fallen angels, when them die,
Yes.
because them can live up to thousands of years. But when they die, because of the flood,
Yes.
God wipe out them with the flood. Well, most of them,
Yes.
and their spirit
Yes.
live on
Yes.
And
roam the earth.
Yes.
And that is why Solomon come
You see me?
along the journey and control them.
Yeah, so
And that's
them
why
know-
the example of how Solomon, God give the ring to Solomon.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
And people want to understand how Solomon see the unseen spirit of the demons of 200 and more than a lot of them. Besides the moment
True.
they pick me, you know.
Yeah,
Fallen
man.
angel pick me.
Yeah, so that me also
Different from the
know
number of the fallen angel.
fallen angel different from demon.
Right,
You see, demon is the Nephilims
right.
that the Most High wipe out, or the Nephilims that die.
Yes.
When they die, they become demons or evil spirit or
The living
jinns.
dead spirit, the
You see
living
me?
dead spirit.
Because they got
And
so
that
much
is
of
how-
a immortal core with it's like we call them half-breed is a derogatory term.
Yeah, man.
And powerful ones amongst them are called sub-deities, right? Because of the extreme knowledge, power, wisdom, understanding, and the understanding of alchemy and the transmutation of energy, vibrations, right? Sound frequency, light frequency, and they taught these, which was then transposed into the mystery schools, right? So part of it is that the Lord had to come in and teach true knowledge to abate the distortions, right? But be it as it may, the Nephilim spirits haunted because of how they were removed, and this core of energy still subsists even though they had lost the human form, right? It had died, but the strength of the immortal spirit within them, with this anger on this earth, this anger towards God,
Yeah, man.
is why they're often called upon by ungodly beings to fight wars against the believers and war against the Holy Church. And the Father just tell me to say it that way.
Yeah, man.
Holy
That we are come to know. So
Minarchi,
their operations in
Hachi,
earth,
Ni, Munda,
their main mission
Muna.
is to destroy Christians. Not just stop Christians, destroy them. You see me? And especially if you are a leader, you see me? Somebody who
Buddha.
teach, you see me?
Ulijari,
Them attack you too.
Yes,
Because if
sir.
you can get the leader,
sure.
then you can get the members.
Yes.
That
You
is
see me?
That's where I realized that these top people of 7 religions, I've never remembered about the 7 religions. I realized that the 7 religions, the 7 Lucifer behind these spiritual leader of the top religion, people are under fallen angel spell, and they do light and dark. You see me? So
A mixed
I
bag, so to speak.
Yeah. So I realized that something deep on my message tell me say they then destroy the Christianity war, cause the pagan Christianity, copycat Christianity, and
Yes.
with the modern Christianity. Christianity is within us. There is no Christianity the outside except within us in that moment.
Yeah.
But there is certain places that don't do the European way, what pagan don't take them and make a
Uri.
bias, right? So the Christianity what we live in Jamaica is entirely of us. Because most of the Christianity in Jamaica controlled by the Rome, based on the Pope, the Vatican,
So
and come back to way past, the critical way past, who take and kill our Tanyos,
Yes.
and they criminalize us.
But they brought this paganism, this
Yes.
Constantinian paganism, disguised as followers of Yeshua, when Jesus, through the Ethiopian tradition, had been praised for 1,000 years and a grand heritage spawned with honor. Not that we are trying to, confuse the issue, but we must mention that European context, as Bob said,
And
it's very much a fallen angel deception.
Yeah, man.
And
You
the
understand?
holy water, they rub all the
Yeah.
tongue, they say all of that, our folk have the tongue, all of that, everything, they rub the cross, them have the cross, they take people from cross, They take other tools to use to substance to determine and ritual and deep.
Subvert.
Yeah.
And this Constantinian military godhead that they've been promulgating has been keeping Rome very strong. And the Roman state religious government, which has become the occupation force in almost all the territories under the true Mashiach order, the kingdoms under this divine majesty, Yeshua Mashiach, has been splintered, and His Royal Majesty has been so divine in His eternal nature that He was able to subdue Lucifer, right, with a word of love and truth, because He was just and moral to lead all generations, because this is His creation. He's the only one that is just and moral so to do. So the demonic entities, which is just enemies of the true state of being, enemies of Theos, enemies of God, enemies of the Holy Church, these fallen entities, are making wars against Yahuwah and His anointing. That is their whole mission in life. So as we've been opening up a door of understanding to the spiritual experiences that have cast many a negative shadow upon individuals, that in the light of society and so-called civilization, they're deemed psychotic or mentally ill, depressed individuals who need these highly toxic chemicals to alter the biological and the psychological state, leading to more confusion and unhealthiness. While these maladies are categorically brought on by the war against the innocence of divine creation. And there's such a subversive attempt by Samael, fallen Lord Lucifer, to subvert the kingdom of light into the kingdom of darkness. So as we champion the cause of those who are misdiagnosed, as Brother Baba said, by those psychologists who are led by the Luciferianic agendas, right, to deny the sovereign nature of our Lord, God, and Savior, Yeshua Mashiach, who is also our Creator and King. When you deny His people their divine birthright unto the land and the power of their logos, you are going against the very fabric of life. And so those who support these ideologies are paid, bought, and unleashed on us. So for those of you who understand what we're talking about, keep yourself prayed up, keep yourself focused, invite the holy angels with the flaming sword of judgment. For those of you who are empowered to empowering, lift your lower frequency to be consistent. This is warfare on the spiritual plane, in the highest of dichotomy, to pervade your consciousness with absolutely powerful, empowering thoughts that engender the presence of the Most High. That you do not sleep, and if you sleep, 7 times rise, 7 times fall,
And then what I realized
7
that
times rise.
what I realized that Once you find your own inner voice and your Yahshua in spirit within you, that you hear the spirit of yourself, you won't worry about you to your mind and body no more, because you realize the present soul walk within you. So you start realize the truth what you see in front of your own inner eyes, apart from two eyes. So when you look on your inner eye, Yahshua in your eye, you just give the light of seeing more visual awareness, so you won't bother the thought or the emotion and the more, because the thought and emotion have been prisoned. I'm talking about psychic feeling, because they more control the feeling more than the thought, and the vibration and what they brought from. They don't understand the feeling of the earth, because they never brought up that feeling. If they understand the feeling of nature, they won't overwhelm these other feelings.
Because they seek proof through thought. But deeper than thoughts are feelings. And so you seek into the eternal chakra of the highest vibrations that we term in the language of English love. Agape unto the unconditional. Filling your soul with more truth and understanding, more good vibration to cast away the low dark vibrations that they subsist on, that they live in. Brother, before we transition forward into other wonderful moments, anything you want to leave our audience with currently on the part of empowering them now, in that sense of keeping, the light of Christ in them?
Yeah, man, as you say, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but spiritual wickedness in high places. You see me? When we have sicknesses, what don't seem normal, wrestle not against flesh and blood. You see me? If you even have a quarrel with somebody, a spiritual wickedness in a high place is that. You see me? We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but spiritual wickedness. You see me? So what we need for this is put on the full armor of God. You see me? Righteousness, faith, truth, justice. You see me? And I saw we are going to defeat. Can remember the Father said, you have power over the enemy. You see me? You can crush him with ease. But him said, don't rejoice over that. Rejoice say you have a part in the kingdom. You see me? But like don't go around and boast and say, demon, me slew that. You see me? I'm afraid of no demon boy. Not really rejoice in that. Rejoice say you have a part in eternity. You see me? But because you believe in a Christ, him give you powers over the enemy. You see me?
So we're not saying go out there and be demon hunters and go out there seeking for a confrontation.
Well, I saw prayer warrior come in. Well, you pray over your community.
And they're on the front lines of the battle. They're on the front lines of the battle. But don't go out there seeking this confrontation. Because the first thing the Lord taught me was that there is a law between the divide of light and dark, right? And until the day of judgment will all the accounts be tabulated and the final measure be poured. So therefore, you got some dark entities over there running off their mouths, and sometimes they're looking over at me and they're saying crap, but they didn't step into this space and try to clash. So I stepped up away from them on my path and I didn't look back. However, in Brother Ramon's case, where they came in and, because he came into a space they felt that was their own and they tried to dominate, you have to defend yourself. You have to get up like what I had to do, and Brother Bob, we had to defend ourselves. So
I agree, because you really think not against brother. It's more than that a metaphysical work we can do.
So as we put our closing thoughts forward in our innermost heart, may we continue to have that faith in reverence of the power of Yeshua Mashiach that gives you the strength through faith to overcome these demonic entities, not for a boasting, but for the living presence of God to be within you, so you can experience the kingdom as the garden was created for. So until next we meet again, this has been reasonings right here at the Trail Life. Yeah, we are at Noisy River, yeah, Milegully, and that's in Manchester. Brother Ramon Singh, Brother Laurence Anderson, the Mystic Bob, Jerome Sage Butler, the Great Owl, and we're taking you out with some wonderful scenes of the environment as we implore you, harmonize within the environment, keep calmness within the environment, and that will bring a lot more strength and focus in Yahuwah, Yeshua.
Perfect love.
Perfect love, brother.
Jerome.
Aye, aye. Let's see.